The Florida Joint Center for Citizenship presents Evaluating Candidates, Video 1, Evaluating Candidates for Federal Office. On Election Day, voters are handed a ballot that usually includes more than one contest. Oftentimes, citizens cast their vote in races for federal, state, and local offices. For each race, there is a list of candidates. Candidates are people running for a specific office. In this video series, we will learn about the requirements of candidates running for political office. Additionally, we will look at ways voters can evaluate or judge candidates running for office. In general, official requirements to run for political office can be sorted into several categories: age, citizenship, residency, or where someone lives, and term limits, which is how many terms a person can hold the same office. After watching this video, you will be able to 1. Identify the requirements to run for federal offices. 2. List some ways to evaluate a candidate running for office. Let's get started. The requirements to run for federal or national political offices, President, U.S. Senator, and U.S. Representative, are outlined in the United States Constitution. Let's begin with the office of the President. According to the U.S. Constitution, a person running for president must meet the following qualifications. 1. Be at least 35 years old. 2. Must be a natural-born citizen. A natural-born citizen is a person born in the United States or born to at least one parent who is a U.S. citizen. 3. Must live in the United States for at least 14 years. And 4. He or she can serve for 2 4-year terms. The Constitution does not list specific qualifications for the Vice President. However, the Vice President may become President if the President dies, resigns, or is removed from office. So the Vice President must meet the same requirements as the President. Let's check in. Using this chart, identify the constitutional requirements for the presidency. Answer. In order to run for the presidency of the United States, a citizen must be 35 years of age, must be naturally born, lived in the United States for 14 years, and they may only serve 2 4-year terms. Well done. Let's recap what we've learned so far. The U.S. Constitution outlines the requirements to run for federal political offices. To run for the presidency, a person must be 35 years old, a natural-born citizen, and lived in the United States at least 14 years. A president may only serve 2 4-year terms. Now that we know the constitutional requirements to run for president, let's take a look at the constitutional requirements to run for the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House of Representatives. The U.S. Constitution sets the following requirements for candidates to run for the U.S. Senate. 1. They must be at least 30 years old. 2. They must be a U.S. citizen for at least 9 years. 3. They must live in the state they are running to represent. And 4. They can serve an unlimited number of times for a 6-year term. Now let's look at the other House of Congress, the U.S. House of Representatives. The U.S. Constitution sets the following requirements for candidates to run for the U.S. House of Representatives. 1. A candidate must be at least 25 years old. 2. They must be a U.S. citizen for at least 7 years. 3. They must live in the state that they represent, but they do not have to live in the district they want to represent. And 4. They can serve an unlimited number of times for a 2-year term. Let's check in. Using this chart, identify the constitutional requirements for the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House of Representatives. Answer. A candidate running for the United States Senate must be 1. 30 years of age. 2. Must be a citizen for 9 years. 3. Must live in the state they are running to represent. And 4. They have no term limits and serve a 6-year term. Answer 2. Candidates running to be a member of the United States House of Representatives must be 1. 25 years old. 2. Must be a citizen for 7 years. 3. They must live in the state they are running to represent. And 4. They have no term limits and serve a 2-year term. Well done. Let's recap what we've learned so far. The U.S. Constitution outlines the requirements to run for federal political office. To run for the Senate, a person must be 30 years old. must be a citizen for 9 years, live in the state they are running to represent, and a senator serves a 6-year term and does not have term limits. To run for the House of Representatives, a person must be 25 years old, must be a citizen for 7 years, and live in the state they are running to represent. A representative serves a 2-year term and does not have term limits. Now that we understand the constitutional requirements to run for federal elected offices, let's look at some common things voters consider when deciding which candidate to support. When citizens get ready to vote on Election Day, how do they decide which candidate they will vote for? Ultimately, it's up to each voter to decide which candidate they think will do the best job. There are some common things that voters can take into consideration when deciding which candidate they will support. We will look at a few of these: experience, platform, debates, and political ads. A candidate running for office may have served in some other elected or appointed position, or they may have skills or life experiences that would help them do their job. For example, many elected officials actively participate in their communities, graduated from college, and may have served in local government before running for state or federal office. These experiences may make them a more attractive candidate. A voter may want to consider the ideas and beliefs that a candidate has on certain issues. These ideas might include how to fund education, regulate business and the environment, healthcare, government spending, taxes, and foreign policy. A voter may decide to vote or not to vote for a particular candidate based on their views and ideas on particular issues. Let's check in. Why might a voter consider a candidate's experience and platform when deciding whether or not to vote for them? Answer: a candidate's job or past experience might provide them with the skills that will be useful for the elected position they are running for, and a voter might consider a candidate's platform to understand their position on the issues that are of concern to the voter. Well done. Let's recap what we've learned so far. When deciding which political candidate to vote or not to vote for, voters consider a candidate's experience, ideas, and beliefs. Experience might provide a candidate with skills that may be useful for the elected position, and a candidate's platform helps a voter to understand the candidate's ideas and beliefs on issues of concern. Now that we understand how voters consider a candidate's experience and platform positions when voting, let's now examine how voters consider debates and political advertisements. A voter may want to watch a political debate before the election. Watching candidates running for the same office debate each other might provide a voter with information on how well a candidate presents their views on issues, how they interact with others that may not agree with their position, and how they handle a stressful situation. Finally, a voter might take into account political advertisements for and against the candidate. During an election, candidates who are running for public office often create commercials to appeal to voters and say why they are the best choice or why their opponent is not a good choice. Let's check in. Why might a voter consider a candidate debate and political ads when deciding whether or not to vote for them? Answer: a candidate's performance in a debate can show a voter how a candidate communicates their ideas on issues and how they interact with others that may disagree with them. Candidates use political advertisements to appeal to voters, to communicate a positive message about themselves or a negative message about their opponent. Well done. Let's recap what we've learned so far. When deciding which political candidate to vote or not to vote for, voters consider a candidate's debate performance and political advertisements. Debate performance can show how a candidate communicates ideas on issues and interacts with others, and political advertisements can communicate positive messages about the candidate and negative messages about their opponent. Thanks for watching. This video produced for instructional purposes by the Florida Joint Center for Citizenship at the Lou Fry Institute at the University of Central Florida. Video produced and edited by the Florida Joint Center for Citizenship staff.